Let's go across to the RPI Deputy Governor Subir Gokarn, who's talking at the Hero Mine Summit.
Which clearly created the space for macroeconomic stability, some degree of predictability, some degree of the ability to look forward as an investor, a long-term perspective. What happened during that period domestically, from a macro perspective, we saw the fiscal deficit at a combined level, state and center, go down from 10% of GDP in 2002 to about 4.5% or slightly below that in 2008. How did that happen? We all know various things that happened, tax reform, VAT, and so on, which contributed. Of course, high growth also contributed. But this was a very important transformation. Why was that? Because it essentially created the space for the other change, which is that investment to GDP went up from 28% of GDP to 38% of GDP over that 5-year period. So essentially we saw high growth happening in an environment where new capacity was being created. The pattern of spending itself was changing away from consumption generally, not private consumption, but consumption generally, including public sector. The government actually started to spend more money on asset creation. We saw the share of government expenditure on capital peaking at about 23% in that period. In the most recent budget, it is at 13.5%. So it came down very sharply. It's now starting reverse, which is the sort of early signs of a turnaround, which is a very positive sign. But at that point, with the highways and various other initiatives, a lot of money was being spent by government to create capacity. So all of these are very logically very easy to see as growth enhancers. Along with that growth came various employment, various sectors saw massive employment growth. And all of this really contributed to that high growth period. So if you want to look ahead, and I won't get into the crisis and beyond, where perhaps we can come back to that issue. If you want to look ahead and identify a set of very simple conditions which create a macro framework for sustaining growth, and that then provides a platform for all the other issues that you referred to. We need to have low inflation. We need to have rising investment ratio. We need to have strong fiscal consolidation. And this in turn provides the space for monetary policy to actually support investment, which is essentially what happened during that period. So that's a very simple and very, I would say, straightforward statement of what the underlying macro conditions for favoring growth are, and what we do beyond that in terms of labor forces, skilling, and so on are larger challenges which we have to address to make sure that the growth benefits the large number of people that we want it to. But without these conditions, there is no bypass, there is no alternative. These are conditions which I think are almost necessary, essential to create the context for growth.